Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Molly Shack, and I am proud to have been born and raised right here in Columbus, Ohio. I grew up in a low-income neighborhood on East Fifth Avenue and attended Columbus Public Schools. Now, if you're familiar with the East Side, you might know that my brother and I were pretty much the only kids that were white on the bus. At school, we were considered a rich family because we owned our own home and had 2 cars. But when I would cross the train tracks to play with my soccer team in Bexley, I was the poor kid who lived in the rough neighborhood. So what I knew to be true was that we always had enough, but not too much more. My first year at Ohio State, I lived on my brother's couch and covered the cost of tuition and books with my work-study job and scholarships. But when I got my financial aid letter for my second year, I had lost $10,000 in financial aid and scholarships. My mom had picked up a part-time job as a secretary, and I thought we had been bumped up into the next income bracket. So I picked up another job, working late nights and weekends at a bar, and was working between 40 and 60 hours a week. It wasn't until a friend invited me to a student organizing meeting talking about the cost of higher education that I realized it wasn't my mom's job that was the problem. There were a set of people downtown who had eliminated billions of dollars from the state budget for K-12 schools and collegiate need-based financial aid. Thousands of kids lost education opportunities in order to give tax breaks to a few wealthy individuals. And I got mad. I got involved in organizing young people to fight for investments in our futures, and we got part of the Ohio College Opportunity Grant restored to help other kids like me get their education. I graduated magna cum laude in 2012 from The Ohio State University. Got some Buckeyes in here. And I have been blessed to work as a community organizer ever since with the Ohio Organizing Collaborative. When I was first tasked with talking about being a good ally, I did what any good millennial social justice warrior would do, and I asked my friends on Facebook, what do you want people with some privilege to know about being a good ally? I heard 2 main things. The first was to be an empathetic ally, and then to become an accomplice. So first, let's get something out here in the room. If you are white, like me, you almost certainly have implicit biases. Everyone can go to Harvard's website and take a test to show you that our brains make split-second judgments that preference white people. It's a fancy word for racism, but it is not a judgment of your soul. A recent study done by the Public Religion Research Institute showed that 75% of white Americans do not have a single non-white friend. That means that most white folks' opinions about people of color are shaped not from relationships or from experiences, but from Facebook, news, sports, and other media. Columbus is also one of the most economically segregated cities in America. So it's very likely that if you live in an upper-income neighborhood, what you know about poor people in our city is also just from media. So when a person of color raises their voice to say that something that they've experienced is unjust, an ally responds with empathy, not sympathy. Value their voice. Empathy is about listening without waiting to respond. It's a choice, not to judge, compare, try to fix, save, or console, but to sit in a sacred and uncomfortable place where you make a vulnerable choice to listen deeply and connect with something in yourself that knows that feeling. Your sympathy cannot make racism go away. It can't take away a black mom's fear that her son could be killed because he was perceived as a threat. Your empathy allows you to build relationships and to be more fully human together. Committing to being a good ally helps create safety and dignity with marginalized people right now. But committing to being an accomplice, that's about getting to the root cause of the problem. It means using your voice, your money, time, and gifts to change social structures that oppress others. Not because marginalized people need saving, but because our world is kept in a state of suffering, because a tiny number of people benefit off of us being divided along the lines of race and class, gender, nationality, sexuality, and ethnicity. They aren't strong enough to conquer a unified community, so they use prejudices as a strategic weapon to exploit our pain and fear to tear us apart. For the last 5 years, I have tried to be an ally and an accomplice as I organize around issues in our educational, criminal justice, and policing systems. And sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes my biases show up. But what's most important is to listen to the feedback and stay in the room, even when it's uncomfortable, because there is too much at stake to walk away. Every day in Columbus, people who work full-time still can't earn enough to make ends meet. Last year, Columbus police killed more Black men and boys per capita than any other city in America. We evict thousands of families from their homes. And although we've made great strides in diverse leadership in America, the leadership of one ally or person of color can't change things alone. The Ohio State University has a Black president, but only 117 Black males matriculated in 2016. President Barack Obama was the president of the United States of America, while African Americans ranked at the bottom of every major health and wellness indicator. So having a president who is a person of color or a good ally does not change an institution by itself. It requires all of us coming together, becoming active participants in the creation of a better world. So where I feel safest in this very uncertain world that we live in is in the conversations that I have with people every day from all walks of life who know deeply that while we may be in different boats, rising tides raise all ships. So let me use my organizing skills today to nudge all of you to get a little uncomfortable. Learn more about ways you can be an empathetic ally, and then keep walking and become an accomplice. We all want to live in healthy communities that are safe, where we have dignified work that allows us to provide for our families and still have time to spend with them. So join together and we'll get there. Thank you.